Kia ora koutou. Welcome to this episode of Idle Heroes. Today we are going to go ahead and talk about the Shadow faction. And then in the following episodes we'll talk about the other three regular factions. And then we're going to skip out on Light and Dark, unless you guys let me know and you want me to go over Light and Dark as well. So let's go ahead and start with Shadow. The three newest heroes are the best three heroes in the Shadow faction. As a single hero and not factoring in team, Horus is going to be the best hero in Shadow faction still. He is going to be a hero you want to build as your first E5. If he is the hero that you get the copies of, that is. You can also get him in Brave Trials Knight 15 in the third tier of chests. He costs 60,000 of the Dragon Scales. Horus is going to be a great first E5 because he's going to help you in multiple areas of the game. He's going to help you do great damage in the guild raids. He, with very minimal support, is going to be able to push Seal Land for you up to sort of 17 or 18, which is an area of the game that you really want to focus on early game. At least getting to level 10 in Seal Land makes a big difference because it gets you that additional smash, and you also get more 4-star shards. So you want to try and push as fast as you can to get to level 10 in Seal Land. And then after that, you want to keep pushing further, but it is a little bit less of a priority. So Horus is one that you can take beyond 10-star. Gustin is a support hero. You don't want to build him as one of your first heroes. For your first heroes, you want to focus on someone who is going to be a damage dealer and useful in multiple parts of the game. Gustin is going to be more useful from mid-game to sort of edging onto end-game. I would say don't build him until probably you have maybe 3 E5 heroes who help you push multiple parts of the game, whether that be Aspen Dungeon, a PvP-focused hero, PvE, whatever it is. But with support heroes, you can take them up to like 10-star if you're struggling in some of those areas. But I wouldn't sort of push him up to E5 or even enable him for quite a long time. I can't really give you much details on Gustin. I've never built him, and I just personally don't really like him. But just because I don't like him doesn't mean he is a bad hero. He is, in fact, quite a good hero. But like I said, he's a support hero. He's going to be used in your lineup for purifying CC off your team, and as you can use him as like a secondary healer, but his healing ability is not that great, so you don't want to use him as like a primary healing option. And Ithaca is the newest hero currently. She was the last hero released as of this video. I haven't had a chance to play around with an Ithaca yet. I think she has great potential, as if you get the copies, she's going to be a good first 10-star hero to make. Just because of the way her kit is, she is going to snowball. She has self-sustain, so she can heal herself when she marks the enemy team with the Ghost Possessed effect. And when she if you push her to 10 star going up against lower level teams, she's going to snowball really well because her passive lets her put ghost effect on random enemies when she kills someone, and then she can attack multiple enemies because of that. She also has really high damage scaling, so she has the second highest base attack in the game at 10 star because she has a 35% attack buff on her passive. She is also extremely quick. PvP endgame, she currently doesn't really fit into the meta because of carry. But PvE, she can put up some massive numbers. You just need to make sure you build her correctly. And like I said, I haven't built one, so I feel like she has decent potential in the early game as like a first 10 star. I don't think she can push very far in Seal Land by herself, so I would still say focus on Horus as your first sort of E5 if you're going in the Shadow faction, or if that's who you get the copies of early game. Outside of those three, there's not really anyone in Shadow that you should take beyond 10 star. Some honorable mentions is Jarrah is still a decent hero. She provides a lot of utility, so she has reasonable damage and she has pretty good CC. So with her active, she can both freeze. She has a chance to both freeze and petrify, and she adds a poison dot. She also has a chance at 10 star. She has a 100% chance to steal 20% of the enemy's attack. So basically an attack reduction. So she's going to improve the survivability of the rest of your team. And she does have a little bit of self-sustain. So whenever, based on this Guardian Spirit passive, whenever a foe is petrified, she's going to heal herself by 250% of her attacker's HP. And increase her attack by 10% for 3 rounds. Or whenever a foe is frozen, she's going to restore 20 energy and increase her attack again by 10% for 3 rounds. The problem I find with Jarrah is she's not going to be that easy to build. She is still technically considered an elite hero, so you get her in the elite hero 5-star shards. You can see she's the first one there. You only have a 1.18% chance to get her. But she is also quite frequently the reward for the wishing coins and sort of things like that. But she is not in the basic 5-star Shadow faction shards or just the generic 5-star shards. After Jarrah, Kamath is just going to be a tank who provides a little bit of CC. This is Kamath. Next is Corpse Demon. Corpse Demon is also a CC-focused tank who has great sustain. He does 0 damage though. So if you do take him up, he is going to be good for you on defense. It's going to be difficult for the other team to beat him, but it's also going to be difficult for you to beat other teams, just because he doesn't really provide any sort of damage. Bloodblade is a decent early game hero. He's going to do well for you in guild raids, PvE, and has potential to do okay in the Aspen dungeon. The problem with Bloodblade is he is also still considered an elite hero, so he is not going to be as easy to build as some of the other options that I'll go through in a minute. He is going to do quite decent bleed damage. He does have a bit of self-sustain, so he heals with his active. And he is going to synergize well with the wolf monster. You'll also see on this end passage, Life Drain. Whenever a foe dies, he's also going to heal himself for 240% of his attack. So he is, if you get the copies and you have no copies of anyone else, Bloodblade is going to be a good first 10 star. but I wouldn't take him anywhere beyond that. Walter is not worth talking about. He is going to do very little damage. He has a little bit of poison, and he has a consistent CC, so his basic attack has a 100% chance to stun the target for 2 rounds, but that's just going to hit the first slot enemy. And really, he's fallen off a lot. I wouldn't bother making Walter at all. Field is not even worth talking about. Don't make him, just use him as food. He is very situational. If you are, for some reason, in the situation where he's the only one you have, you can take him up to 6-star early game, just leave him there and only use him as fodder. If you get the copies, you can also take him up to 9-star as food, but don't do that early. Only do that when it won't affect your progress in other parts of the game. Karma is a decent frontline tank. She's super easy to get copies of. She provides a little bit of CC, as well as she buffs your team a little bit. So her active is going to hit the frontline enemies, has a 60% chance to petrify for 2 rounds, and she increases for random. So just remember, it's random. Allies precision by 30% for 3 rounds. And then additionally, as a frontline hero, she's going to reduce the backline enemies by precision by 30% for 3 rounds. Or if you put her in the backline, she's going to reduce the frontline enemies block by 30% for 3 rounds. Her last passive here, she also has a smart heal. So whenever the enemy is, or an enemy is petrified, she's going to restore an ally with the lowest HP by 300% of her attack as HP. She has a 30% at 10-star, a 30% chance to petrify the target for 2 rounds when she's attacked. And she does have a high base attack stat. So you can, early game, she's going to be a decent frontline tank for you. She is going to be easy to get copies of because she is here in the basic shards, as well as Walter, we've already mentioned, and Field. But they're, like I said, not great heroes. Karma has uses and is also in the generic 5-star shards. So anyone in the faction-specific shards is going to be in the basic 5-star shards, just with a slightly lower chance to get because it includes all 4 of the basic factions. After Karma, where is she there? We have Aiden. Aiden is he's going to do decent damage if you rush him as your first 10-star because of whenever an ally dies, he gains 20% increased crit and 36% increased attack. So if you rush him as your first 10-star, the rest of your team is probably going to be quite weak and die quickly, which is going to buff your Aiden. And then this last passive, when he dies, he's going to deal 400% of his attack against all enemies. So on defense, this is great because he is going to basically, as a defensive hero, Aiden is going to win you a lot of fights against people attacking you. But offensively, for him to do that big burst damage, he has to die. And if he's your strongest hero and he dies, then you're basically going to lose as well. Aiden has, because of Garuda, he's not as viable anymore. So a lot of people early game are probably going to be running a 5-star, 6-star, and whatever they get the copies of a higher level Garuda. Garuda is going to heal every time that heroes are dying, and she also has massive, like a big nuke damage. So she sort of counteracts Aiden a bit. And he does have a silence on his active. His active deals damage against all the enemies, which is pretty decent. But the silence is on warriors. It's 100% though. But so I guess if you can get your active off before an enemy Garuda and you can silence her, then you have, it can go okay. And his active will increase his attack by 30% for 3 rounds. I would say defensively, Aiden is a better hero than he is offensively, just because a lot of his damage comes from him dying. And when you're attacking, you basically don't want your strongest hero to be dying. So there's that. Bade is a terrible hero, but in the first about week of a server, he's actually not a bad option. He can do pretty decent damage and has a little bit of self-sustain on his active attack. So you can take him up to sort of 6-star early on. I wouldn't take him up past 6. But if he's the only person you got copies of, then you can. Where are we? Bade, 6-star. So he can't crit. He has the potential to do double or quadruple damage, and then he will restore at 6-star his HP by 30% of damage dealt and increase his attack by 60% for 6 rounds. The problem with Bade is he is only a single target DPS hero, and he is also going to get buffed whenever a foe dies, increases 20% damage reduction for 1 round, and again heals himself a bit. So he does have a little bit of self-sustain. His basic attack does target the enemy with the lowest HP, and again has a percent chance to deal additional damage. But I would say outside of the first week, he's not that great. Remember guys, all of this is just my opinion. After Bade, we have Lutz. I actually really like Lutz. I think he's really underrated. He's going to be a great option as a first 10-star. And he is going to help you in multiple areas of the game. He's going to be a great person to use in sort of Tower of Oblivion as a node breaker against mage waves, because his active has 100% chance to stun mages for 2 rounds, as well as it hits 4 targets. Chase is great, so his basic attack targets the enemy with the lowest HP, and it also reduces their armor by 20%. So he is going to increase your team's damage by reducing the enemy's armor. So he can be used in PvE as a cheap option for a armor break. And then Blood Armor Break is his source of self-sustain. So when he drops below 80% HP, he is going to get, at 10-star at least, he's going to get a 40% armor break and a 20% crit. And he is going to heal himself by 400% of his attack per round for 5 rounds. I believe at 6-star, he doesn't get the crit buff. He gets less armor break and less HP, but it is still pretty decent. So you can use him in your front line, which is going to get him more energy, and he hits multiple targets with his active, like I said. Where is he? There he is. So at 6-star, when he drops below 80% HP, he's still going to heal by 300% of his attack for 5 rounds. And get a 30% armor break. He's still going to have a 15% armor break on his basic attack, or armor reduction, should I say. And then his active, it's no longer 100%, but it's still an 80% chance, so still very high at 6-star to stun to hit 4 enemies, and 80% chance to stun mages it hits for 2 rounds. So Lutz was actually my very first 10-star that I made in the game, so I probably am a little bit biased, but I think he's a very underrated and really good early game hero. And Dominator is going to be a frontline tank. He's easy to get copies of. I don't like Dominator. I wouldn't recommend building him, but he is, again, like I said, he's going to be a frontline tank. He's going to hit multiple enemies, and he has self-sustain. So he does have a little bit of potential. I would build Dominator over Field, maybe even Walter. I just don't like Walter that much. But yeah, that's my opinion on the current status of the Shadow faction. If you think I missed anything out or disagree with what I said, please go ahead, let me know. I really appreciate getting feedback. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, the rest of the factions will be coming following this video. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate the support, guys. Ka kite.